Well, Olu Ogunshakin, who is a professor of police studies and also a security expert, is with us in the studio, as well as retired Major General Garba Wahab is still with us in the studio. We now flip over to Lagos, where Gimba will have questions.
Oh, Professor Ogunshakin, I'm really curious because just taking from that report we just played and the concerns raised about investigating the Dapchi situation, and the House has gone on to constitute a committee to bring up a report within the next 4 weeks. In that, how much of confidence do you have in that process? Because if you have to look at what happened in Chibok, we had a similar situation where the call to investigate that was just across the board as well. What do you expect as a result, since we have not been able to have something concrete to investigate the Chibok situation, and now we have Dapchi?
The issue with Dapchi, again, is the fact that it is the closest neighbor to Niger State. We have about 75 kilometers to Niger country. The fact remains, we're wasting too much time. The children that have been abducted, they are somewhere now looking for assistance, looking for rescue from the Nigerian authorities. And we seem to be failing those children. And I think their own bit is something that we should be putting forward. We need to be talking in form of lives that will be lost forever if something is not done urgently.
Do you think that this is geared towards diverting attention from what is happening in Benue State? Just the papers reporting already that 5,000 inhabitants were sacked from their homes in an island in Makurdi. Do you think this is diversionary, since no killings was carried out in Dapchi?
No. I think to those people who are claiming this is a diversionary tactic, they seem not to really understand what security is all about. People that are behind this are quite opportunistic in their behavior, and this is one of the areas which seems to be forgetting. You need to understand that we have a country that is quite vast. We have a country that is quite big, and then you've actually looked at the military presence that seems to be all over the country as it is. Majority of the military are in different towns and villages across the country. The capacity is not there, and so we are actually running on thin air at this point, and we need to look for ways we can start getting into those communities. We've spoken about intelligence gathering, and one of the areas that we seem to be forgetting is the fact that the security responsibility should not just rest with the agencies. We need to get the communities involved, and as one of those areas, we're looking at developing a community accessibility program where the community will have a say. We cannot just go to different communities without knowing what their concerns are and be asking that we're going to protect them. We need to find a way to bring them on board, and they can be part of this security architecture.
You know, Professor, when you look at this Dapchi situation, the concerns that's raised on the floor of the House of Representatives, one which borders on, is it possible that there is a mole in the system? How would you respond to that very disturbing concern? Is there a mole in the system? Are there people trying to sabotage this government?
Well, the first thing I say is I'm not in the system, so it will be very difficult for me to categorically say there's a mole in the system. What we seem to be lacking is the fact that our policies, our procedures, our practices needs to be upgraded, and the fact that there's got to be a level of loyalty to the government of the day whereby people can take their job seriously. In every organization in the world, there's always someone who is not happy with the system, and we need to find a way to minimize this. We cannot totally eradicate the issue of having a mole in the system, but I'm not in the system. I'm an outsider. The system knows what it's doing. The system is aware of areas of weakness they need to revamp. They need to go back to the drawing board, and if you think there's a mole in the system, then you need to start, I will use the word fumigate the system, so the system can be rid of the mole. But this is not the time to be talking about a mole in the system. This is time to be talking about the lives of those kids that are kept somewhere that nobody seems to know where they are at the present moment. And lastly, for me, when you mention the mole, it takes away, when we're trying to say some people are trying to do this to divert attention, raising all these questions about a mole in the system actually contribute to this diversion itself. So diversion itself doesn't have to be displaced to another state or another country. It's this kind of utterances that take away our eyes from the goal.
Let me ask my question, my next question to the General. General, if you try to analyze this situation and look at the Dapchi episode and the Chibok episode, they all seem to have come pre-elections. Would you say there's a political agenda that has been pushed as evidence to what we're looking? If in 2014, just before the elections in 2015, we had the Chibok situation, and this is 2018, just before 2019, the elections again, we're having the Dapchi situation. What do you make of it?
Well, nobody should be surprised. Anybody who actually look at issues in Nigeria shouldn't be surprised. Like you said, 2014, all you need to do is tick the indicators are there. The kidnapping of Schoolgirls, harassment, whatever, fuel crisis, and the fuel crisis will not end until maybe immediately after the election. So all those things are there. They are all there. And then before you know it, you'll now have some people coming up to complain or to start agitating for a lot of things. They're there. But that is not enough reason for us not to learn lessons from the past, not to communicate, and not to coordinate whatever we're doing as per security. And to add my voice to what the Prof said, somewhere along the line, we tend to look at security as just the responsibility of those who are in the various agencies. It's everybody's responsibility. I can only secure you through you. If you are not ready to be secure, there's nothing anybody can do. So in those areas, there are people who are there, and we tend to promote impunity. Up to today, nobody has heard what happened to the principal of the Chibok school. The commissioner was there. Nobody has said anything about him. And so what we're doing is you are giving vent to people who believe, after all, if I do it, nothing will happen to me. There's no country that you don't have corruption, but it is the impunity you remove. If somebody knows, once I'm arrested or I'm grabbed, then I'll face the music. Then a lot of things will fall in place. But we tend to look at things and say, leave him, it's gone, let us just face the future. And it will encourage a lot of people.
Let me butt in here, because I like that trend that you're following. If there are no consequences, then this is bound to happen again, even today. But what would you say to, or should I say now, is it remotely possible that in the course of investigations, the army officers who were supposed to be in their posts that were withdrawn a week before this attack in Dapchi, would you subscribe to investigating them as well?
Investigation does not leave out anybody. Whoever is responsible from the beginning to the end, from head to toe, will be investigated. Investigation, if you leave out something in investigation, then you are being subjective. You don't subject investigation to any form of adjustment. So everybody will have to go through the mills of investigation. So nobody is going to be exempted when you actually want to get results or find a solution to a nagging problem.